Hey everyone, Mr. MCA here. This is a lap guide for the new lap time challenge taking place at Monza with the Ferrari 330 P4. So this lap time challenge is hanging out over in sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed to be able to access sport mode, and we'll go there in just a moment. There we go. Go ahead and access the online time trial that's towards the middle of the screen and select the current lap time challenge that's hanging out in the middle as of the time of the making this video. So this is a 2-week event ending at the end of September 6, 2023. We're using a fully stock 330 P4 on the racing hard tires, and no, you cannot tune your car. So your goal is to go within 3% of the world record time when the event ends, as when the event ends, that's when your lap time gets counted, and if your lap time is in that 3% time range when the event ends, you get the 2 million credits. I'll have the replay in the description down below if you want to check that out, but now let's get started with the lap guide. So as you go through Parabolica, which is this final turn, you can go through pretty much all of it on 4th gear. That way you don't have to shift up from 3rd to 4th gear mid-corner and face the risk of the car stepping out on you. And when you're on 4th gear, you can rev the living heck out of this car, shifting up at around 165 miles per hour or 265 kilometers per hour. And your first braking point is right as you pass the 200 meter board. So right as you pass that 200 meter board, that's when you start to brake as much as you can, quickly making your way down to 2nd gear. And when you're ready to turn in, which is right around this point right here, so after the 50 meter board, that's when you go down to 1st gear and the car will turn in a bit more. So you will ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. Take advantage of the red, white, and green curves, as those curves are on track limits, but be careful about going too deep into those orange curves, as getting 3 or more wheels on them will invalidate your lap time. And just as you clear this first right turn, that's where you want to go up to 2nd gear, start to turn in towards the left almost right away, and just be careful with your throttle input. Just try to focus on getting the car whipped around the end of the chicane, get the car straightened up, and then fully accelerate your way out. For Curva Grande, you can go through it flat out, but you will need to shift at some point. I shift up just after clearing the turn, that way the car doesn't act up too much. Then your next braking point for the 2nd chicane is at around the 175 meter mark. So in between the 200 and the 150 meter boards, brake as much as you can, making your way down to 2nd gear. You're turning in just after you pass the 50 meter board, so just before the curb on the right starts. And this is where you want to be careful with those orange sausage curves, because for this turn, you want to make sure that your right wheels do not touch that orange sausage curb. And just as you hit this apex, go up to 3rd gear and be really careful with your throttle input. For the second part of the chicane, make sure your left wheels do not touch the sausage curb, otherwise that will invalidate your lap time. So you're trying to get really close to those curves. And now you're going to be on 3rd gear for a while. For Lesmo 1, you're braking before the 50 meter board, and you're turning in shortly after you pass that 50 meter board. So full braking power for a short moment, ease off of the brakes as you're turning in. So doing a bit of trail braking, and just be nice and gentle getting back on the throttle, as you don't want to understeer onto the turf or the grass. That will ruin your lap. But anyways, brake before the 50 meter board once again. You can brake just a little bit earlier than where I do. That way you can get a better approach to this apex right here. And just be nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Don't touch the turf or the gravel or the grass. But anyways, bring yourself towards the right side of the track. You're gonna stay on 4th gear all the way through, because you're braking at around the 165 meter mark. So you're braking pretty early for this turn. Brake as much as you can, making your way down to 3rd gear. You're turning in once you reach the 50 meter board. And as you hit the apex of this first part of Ascari, that's where you shift up to 4th gear. And you want to be really careful with your throttle inputs, because this is where the 330 can get pretty twitchy. So just being careful with your throttle input, trying to straighten up the car for the exit of Ascari, straighten up the car once again, and then get back on the throttle. Finally, bring us up towards the left side of the track for Parabolica, which is the final turn here at Monza. You're braking at around the 125 meter mark. Full braking power, and you're making your way down to third gear. Final turning point is around the 50 meter board that is on the left. So go ahead and start to turn in, ease off of the brakes, so doing a bit of trail braking. And you want to try to stay towards the right side of the track, because right around here, this is where you're going to go up to fourth gear and try to go full throttle. You should be low on the rev, so the car shouldn't act up too much. And just bring yourself towards the right side of the track to minimize track distance. And yeah, don't cross the white lines just in case. So there we go. So now we'll go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. Alright, so here we are getting ready to start the new lap. So go through Parabolica on fourth gear. That way you don't have to shift up from third to fourth gear mid-corner and end up having the car do all sorts of weird things. And for fourth gear, you can rev the living heck out of this car, shifting up at around 165 miles per hour or 265 kilometers per hour. First braking point is the 200 meter board, so you're braking right as you pass it. Go down to first gear for more rotation, but exit the chicane on second gear and just be really careful getting on the throttle. And you want to make sure you have the car straightened up before you start to fully accelerate your way out. For Curva Grande, you can take a flat out, but wait until you clear this turn before you shift up to fifth gear. That way the car doesn't do all sorts of weird things. Then you're braking at around the 175 meter mark. Go down to second gear, up to third gear now, and just be really careful with your throttle input. Try not to cheese the sausage curves way too much. Then brake before the 50 meter board. Just taking your time getting back on the throttle to avoid touching the turf or the grass. Then brake before the 50 meter board. You can brake just a little bit earlier than where I do to get a better approach towards the apex. Now for this back straight, you can stay on fourth gear, bring yourself towards the right side of the track. You're braking at around the 170 meter mark, shifting down to third gear for Ascari, but go up to fourth gear and just be really careful with your throttle input to make sure that the car doesn't act up too much. Ascari does kind of provoke the car to want to do all sorts of weird things, so just be careful around there. Then bring yourself towards the left. You're braking at around the 125 meter mark. Go down to third gear for more rotation, but exit out fourth gear. And because you're pretty low on the revs, you can be a little aggressive on the throttle and bring yourself towards the right to minimize track distance. And there we go, getting a 145.671. We'll see how this lap time holds up as the weeks go on, but hopefully this lap guide helped you out. If you like this video, you can press the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So this is Mr. MCA, the world's most okay player, and I'll see you in the next video.